Hello. Hi, Deb. Hi, everyone. How are you today?
Happy New
How's it
Year.
going? Happy New Year. This is so exciting. Yeah, we are
Wow.
kicking off this month with so many cool classes. We want to just get those creative juices flowing right away. Are you feeling the creative energy this year?
I really am. I spent the first week of the year just kind of in the zone, didn't have any
Mm.
commitments, and I just sat in here and got the creative juices flowing. So I am ready to go.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I had the fortune of getting to pick out a little palette for you of some blues and some purples, some goodies that I thought might look nice together this time of year. Um, and so my goal was to see what might you come up with, but also I wanted us to play with some tools. In us jewelers, we like beads, but we also like our tools. We like collecting and trying out different things. So my hope for today is that everyone will get inspired. Maybe they have some of these tools and they'll be able to figure out new ways to use them. Or they might be thinking, what are some new things I want to pick up to kind of expand my jewelry making options this year? So yeah, what tool did you end up playing around with?
So I'm going to be using the Conetastic, which is a really fun tool, probably
Mhm.
one of the more, I don't know, specialized tools, but I
Yeah.
think over time it's been developed to do a lot of different things. So it's a fun one. It's a good one to have in your arsenal for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, you came up with a necklace and an earring set that we're going to learn to do today. So what we're going to be it's a bit of stringing, a bit of wire work. Is that right? Is that the kind of the main techniques?
Yeah. It's a little bit of everything, kind of. There's some real basic stringing, and then we're going to use the Con-tastic to actually do something different than what it's really intended
Yeah,
for.
we're not making just a cone with it.
Yeah, no, why would we do
What?
that? But we're
Yeah.
going to learn how to do that as part of what we're doing.
True.
We're going to do a little bit of hammering, just a little bit of everything. I call this
Awesome.
an easy complex project or a complex easy project. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, we get to dabble with a bunch of different tools, which I like. So
Yeah.
let me show everyone the beads that we're going to be working with. So let me add that to the screen.
Oh, you're so
Here we go. So I went with these blues and these purples. I thought was nice for this winter time and starting to think about spring as well. So I'll tell everyone what we have here. All of this is available at Sam's Bead Shop. So some of the gems that I'm very excited about here. First would be these AA grade kyanite coins with, oh my God, just those beautiful
divine.
striping, that color. Very nice. And then we also have some amethyst. These are a really cool shape. And these are, I think, one of the first ones I picked out because I was just like, what is Deb going to do with these? I know she's going to do something cool. These are the amethyst that is a top drilled stick. So it's kind of like a brio, but this more free formed nature. So we've got these come in a nice long strand. These aquamarine nuggets are gorgeous as well.
Oh, love those.
Here we have some candy jade rondelles. These are dyed to look like amethyst, that gorgeous purple. And then 2 check selections in here as well. These are some small 4mm fire polish. They have a little blue iris on them, as well as some melons with lots of luster. So yeah, we kind of bringing this all together. What did you have a favorite kind of bead or color or anything in here?
It's hard to pick a favorite out of this group.
Yeah.
The first thing I picked up was the little kyanite coins because kyanite just, I don't know, there's something magical about it. It's very ethereal looking and I really like that, but I kind of used that a little bit differently too than you would expect. But
yeah.
It's hard to pick a favorite out of that palette for sure.
I was happy with it. And then, I also sent you over some 22 gauge German style wire. We're doing it in silver plated today, but you could totally do this with gold plated or some copper, whatever you'd like. So this is the base palette. And then Deb, do you want to flip over your camera and you can tell us about the tools we'll be playing with today?
Yeah, I will. I'm very excited about this little adventure we're going to have together today. I'm just going to get myself set up. Get my camera.
Oh, I just love how these all lay together. See how that just starts making itself. You start getting ideas.
I know there's so many different ways you could put these together. I mean, really, the options are endless. So I'm set up here.
Okay, let me bring you on.
So I've got all the goodies here, but I'm going to move the goodies out of the way because I did cheat and actually put the necklace together, the stringing part of it together first, because I don't want to put you guys to sleep with all the stringing. One note is I did add some seed beads. I usually add seed beads to my designs a lot of the time. These are 15-ohs, might be a little too tiny for folks, but 11-ohs work perfectly too. So I used a bright silver. These are, I think, a galvanized silver, and they're really beautiful with the silver. And I'm going to hide, you may have seen a glimpse of that. I'm going to hide that for now, but this is our strand, and we'll actually go through this in more detail when we get to that part of things. So I'm going to set those aside. And by the way, bead stoppers were my best friend here. So that's a tool you might want for this project.
Yep.
And I did use 19 strand beading wire. I used satin silver. I think it just kind of was a good complement to this project. You'll also need one head pin, and I used just a plated ball head pin, and you'll need a clasp. I'll show you what I picked. I just picked a simple silver plated clasp. You'll need some crimps, and I used French wire. I'm a big French wire person. I'll show you guys how I used it, but this is French wire.
Yeah, you can also use a wire guardian for folks if you have that around.
Yeah, and you'll need some standard cutters. You'll probably need some kind of chain nose plier, probably 2 of those to help us finish getting our components attached that we're going to make. And you'll need some ever necessary crimping pliers. And I think from the stringing perspective, that's what we'll need. Then, before we get to the star of the show, I'm going to be working with a bench block. This is a fairly heavy piece of metal that I put onto this beanbag pad, and this is going to help reduce the sound factor, not a lot, but it also creates some stability on whatever surface you're working on. So I'm working on wood, but this also helps in working on a soft surface. So I absolutely love this tool. And we're going to hammer. So I'll show you what we're going to hammer. And I got a granddaddy hammer. So
ooh, I love it.
This is a 1 pound brass mallet. Now, that's a lot of firepower. You don't necessarily need that. You can use any flat face. So this is the face of your hammer. Any flat face hammer will work. So a planishing hammer, a chasing hammer, even a texturing hammer would work, because we have 3 objectives with our hammering, and we'll talk about those. But you just really need a flat faced hammer. And I like a big heavy hammer for something like this because of the face size. And you'll see mine is really dinged up, but the face size and the weight of this one for me is helpful because I can do what I need to do a lot faster. But you can certainly use any other hammer. It just might take you a little bit longer to do. Now, the star of the show is the Con-tastic. And this really doesn't look like much, right? It's like, what is that thing? It's kind of it looks like maybe a lighter or a lipstick case or something.
Yeah, it really could be anything.
And it's metal with some, I'm not sure what the surface is here, but it's metal. And when you purchase the Con-tastic, it comes with a set of mandrels. And I was able to pull out the mandrel set that comes with it. It's these 3 mandrels. So they're intended to make cones, hence the name Conetastic. And this was created by Sandra Lupo. Sandra is a good friend of mine, and Sandra is amazing. This is something that she worked with Beadalon to produce, and it actually allows you to store your mandrel set. I didn't put the ones that come with it in it, but it also comes with your little wrench you need, so you can store your first set right in the tool. So that's really
so nice.
cool.
So you don't because those are the pieces that you're probably otherwise you'll misplace them. You'll lose those.
Yeah. So you can put all of your stuff in there and close it up and put it away in your tool drawer. And
nice.
And you've got everything you need. Now, Sandra actually developed 2 additional mandrel sets. And I'm going to be using one of the mandrels from her hourglass set today. And you can see this is shaped different. So let me show you I've already messed up my table here. This is the shape that it comes with. And then the second set that she created, this hourglass, as you can see, is differently shaped. And there's lots of advantages. So I would encourage you guys, if you are inspired by this tool, there's tons of videos out there on how to use it and what the different, techniques are and things. So you can get some basic and some more advanced ways to use it. But there's also one last set. I won't show you the whole thing, but there's one set where you can actually make bead caps, which is really fun. Like to be able to make
I love that too. Yeah, making little embellishments for your beads.
Oh my God. So the other day I was thinking one of the huge advantages to the cone piece of it is if you're making a piece and you want to do something at the end of it. So, let's say this piece was going to end here at this bead. Like I might want to put something a little more fancy up at the top, like not just crimp it. Maybe I want to add something fancy, but then I go and look for a bead cone, like a cone. And I'm sure you guys are all like me. You're like, I know I got something. Where is it? I don't know. And then you find it and it's not the right size or it's not the right color so I can just grab my tool and I can make my own in minutes. I mean, you can make a few of them in minutes. And so I just think the bead cap capability, the cone capability, great for finishing and also great for accent pieces for your jewelry. So I can't say enough about how you may not use this tool every day, but it's a great tool to have, especially when you're in that pinch and you're like, you know what, I can't find exactly what I need, so I'm going to make my own.
Yeah, and then you can do it in the color of the wire that matches your piece and all that.
Yes, 100%.
Cool.
So I love this tool, and I was so grateful I actually bought this directly from Sandra when we were in Tucson at an event together, and she is the loveliest lady. So so you will find videos out there of her working with her tool, and she's a great demonstrator. So go check out all the other things you can do with this because it's really, really cool. So those are all the tools, I think, all the pieces and parts. We got a lot to put together here.
I love it. We're gonna see what happens. Yeah, we're trying out different tools, seeing how they fit into our toolkit.
Yes, you guys used the tying station in a couple of
Yep.
videos, and that's been my other obsession lately. So
Yeah.
that's one of my faves too. So I'm so excited we're doing this. So I've already, as I showed you guys, I've already strung up my necklace. And what we're going to be doing is creating a focal section for our necklace. And this is a little sort of off the beaten path, a little bit, I don't know, artistic. So, you know, I'm going to show you what to do, and you can actually do this however you would like. You can tweak it however you'd like, but I'll show you just kind of basically what I put together here. So I'll start by showing you how to work the tool. So I've picked this mandrel, and you can see it's a cone shape, but it's inverted. So it's got a hole here, and the base of this actually has a flat side and a rounded side. So what you're going to need to do is put the mandrel into the hole that's at the top of your tool. And what you want to do is make sure the flat side is facing this hole. So there's only one hole here, and that's what you're going to use the wrench in. So I'm going to take my mandrel and drop it into the hole, but I need the hole on the base of this mandrel to stay above the tool. So I'm holding on to it, and I'm going to twist this closed. So I'm going to tighten this guy onto the tool. I'm going to pull that out, and that guy's not going anywhere. So now I've got my tool all set up and ready to go. And what we want to do is attach our wire through this hole here. You can see that okay. Now I'm going to use the Beat-A-Lon German style wire. This is 22 gauge. This is actually some of my favorite wire to work with. It's really a good gauge, and it's super shiny, and it's just really has a nice feel to it. Not that a normal rounded wire isn't feel good, but there's just something about this. I can't really put my finger on it. But this is just excellent wire to work with. So
yeah, it's a little more structured, a little harder than your, an artistic wire. It's really great when you're making something, making a piece that's a little more structured. It will hold that shape better. And then of course we're going to be hammering as well to make it even stronger. But that's kind of what the benefit is of it.
Yeah, and I would say you could certainly use a craft style wire, or a different kind of wire. You could even use a different gauge. I'll tell you just up front that 22 gauge is not going to be rock solid in what we're doing here, but the application of it, using it the way we're going to use it in this necklace, we're not going to put any extra pressure on it. So these pieces should hold together pretty well. And we're going to work hard on them with our hammer and our fingers. So this wire is great. This is a little bit harder. So if we were using just a regular craft wire, this is going to be a little more stable than that. So I'm going to make sure I've got plenty of space here. And what I'm going to do...
Oh, sorry, one question. So what you're going to show us now is how you might make a cone with this, that you could right? That this is how you might use a cone anyway. We're going to then transform it and turn it into something else. But this part, if you just how do I even just make a cone with this? They can follow these directions.
Absolutely 100%. So, awesome. And you'll see our result, our first result of what we're going to make. So when you do this, you do not have to cut wire. So this is just right out of the package, my spool of wire. And the very first thing you're going to want to do is attach it to the mandrel. So that hole right there is where we want to push the wire through. You don't need to push a lot through. just maybe, you know, half an inch or so. And I just kind of push it around with my finger and get it onto, you know, sort of attached into that hole. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get that guy attached. And then with this inverted cone, you kind of have to do a little bit of a step up to get it there. So I kind of bend it up onto the cone. So you do want to try not to have it wrap around the base, but for this application, it's okay if it does. We don't necessarily have to have a perfect cone, which you're going to see why we don't need a perfect cone. So I've got my wire started up there, and then I like to, for the first couple of times, wrap it around with my hand. But because this is a tool, you can then let the Conetastic do the work. So you're going to hold on to the wire and turn your wrist, and oh, see, my wire slipped down a little bit. That's okay. And you're just going to let that wire go down around the mandrel. I'm just holding onto it with my hand and turning with my right hand. So my left hand's got the wire, giving it a little bit of a lead. And then I'm just twisting and turning the Conetastic. It's just that easy. Now you could wrap it around if you like. I actually tried that. And although that works great, it's a little more labor intensive. And if I tried to do it here, I'd be banging the camera with the wire like crazy. So this is just how easy it is. So look how
so cool. I love that you don't have to cut the wire, because like, how would you know how much to cut? That would be so hard.
That is a great I don't know how you would know. And each one of the mandrels like is a little bit different. So you'd have to know the secret formula. And
yeah, I don't want to do that much. That's too much math. Yeah. I like this. This is just go for it and see what happens.
Yes. So this, I do believe when I
oh, let's see. We lost Deb for just one moment. Oh, you're back.
Oh, sorry.
All good.
I did watch a few videos myself, and I noticed that someone I saw demonstrate this said that it might have been Sandra with the hourglass mandrels, that you actually you would use more wire and you actually get more coils. So I have not, tested that, but
yeah,
I'm actually only going to go down about half of the mandrel. So I'm going to just manually wrap one more around there. And I like the length of that. You don't need to go all the way to the end unless after you play around with this, you decide you want a longer component. So I'm going to cut the wire off. So I'm going to cut the wire up here, but we cannot get the cone off because it won't come off going in this direction.
Yeah.
If you were using the sort of traditional mandrels, you could pull it right off. But this inverted style, we actually need to remove our mandrel. So you're just going to use your little wrench, and you're going to loosen that guy up and pull that out. So easy to use. And you've got your wire, attached at both ends or either side of that hole. So you're just going to snip it off with your cutter. So cut that guy. And I'm going to cut it from the other side. And if I've got it off of there, let me get that guy out. Yep. Then it just slides right off. So
voila.
Look at this cone.
Cool.
So that's how you make a cone. And I'll tell you, if you were doing this with a wire that's not German style, it may not come off absolutely perfect, especially if it's the whole length of your mandrel. So you would have to manipulate it a little bit. But I'll tell you what, this German style wire makes the cone really nice when it comes off. So
yeah, as you were saying earlier, that would be really fun to put it like the back of a necklace, or just the start of some earrings. Like there's so many options just from here.
The first time I ever used this, I used this to create a way to cover up my ends of a multi-strand necklace. So I pulled all my ends up through, and I attached them all inside the cone so it wasn't visible, and it just made the end look really, really, really nice. So, but we're not going to like make this a easy, simple little cone. And I have to tell you, I messaged Sandra and I said, so I'm going to use a Con-tastic in a video coming up, and I just want to let you know that maybe I'm going to do something that it might make you a little nervous. So if you happen to see it, just, I don't want you to be alarmed by what you see.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So I'm going to just really quickly, I'm just going to cut off this little end, and then I just want to cut off this end. I just want to clean that up just a little bit, although you'll see it really doesn't matter terribly. Now I'm going to pull this over. So I've got my bench block. I'm going to pull this up a little bit, and guys, this is going to be a little bit loud, just so you know. It is hammering. We're going to make this into a flat coiled shape, and it's going to be part of a pendant. We're actually going to make two of them, and I'll go ahead and reveal. I made one in advance. This is what it looks like. So it's just like an organic coil, and as you can see, we're going to be stretching it out and we're going to be flattening it with a hammer. So yeah. It was a cone.
I love and then it becomes this like spiral of fun, but I love that it still has a little bit of that original taper. Like it's smaller on one side, larger on the other. I think that's a really cool element to it.
And I'll tell everybody in advance, this is a little bit of an exercise in manipulation. So you've got to spend time and a little bit of patience to get it exactly the way that you want it. So you may want a lot of big coils. So here's an example of one with some big coils and more coils. Or, you may want to use smaller coils. So you would go, higher up on your piece. So there's tons of options here, but I'm going to start, and I want to try and replicate the one I've got here. So I'm going to put that as my sort of guide for the next one. Now, please don't put this down and try and hammer it, because in this shape, it's going to fly. Like it will be across the room, and it will be fodder for one of my cats to play with. And so what you're going to want to do first is manipulate it a little bit with your hands. So get it into sort of the start of the shape that we're going for. And
so you're warming it up a bit. Get it starting to manipulate it into the form that we want it.
Yeah. So it's, and honestly, this will allow you to actually hammer it. Now, I am inherently clumsy, and I very often hurt myself, even sitting with all, safety stuff. So I'm trying to do this also to help myself with the hammering process.
Yeah. we all can use some safety tips. I love that.
Yes. So you are not going to beat this to death. This is a heavy hammer, and like I said, I like a heavier hammer, but I think it also allows me to be a little more, less heavy-handed with it. So I'm just going to start by some very light hammering, and I pick it up and I kind of manipulate the shape as I'm going. And you might want to pull it out a little bit as you go. And I think I said earlier, we have 3 objectives. We want to make our shape. We want to work harden this because it still is 22 gauge wire. And we really do want to texture it a little bit. So anytime you take a hammer to wire, unless it's like one of those nylon covered hammers, which you could also use, you're going to have texture. And I like that. I think that adds a little bit of something to it. So
you also, as you were manipulating it and kind of pulling it left to right, this is the point where you can decide how spaced out you want your coils?
Yes. So I want to try and match this guy. So I'm seeing I've got to pull this one a little bit further out. So I've got to kind of give it some more space, I guess, in those coils. And so then I can get my hammer back in here. And I'm going to hammer this end, even though I'm probably not going to use this end. But I'm going to hammer that a little bit because I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to hold on to it. And now one other thing to be mindful of is you've got some ends. So you've got the ends that you cut off, you trimmed off, and we're not going to be soldering them. So we want to make sure that we hammer them nice so they're sort of, merged as best as they can be with the wire next to it so that nothing can kind of come off this piece without some force to do it. So I want to make sure I get that end that I trimmed off hammered nice as well. And you see, as you hammer, it's going to move things around. You're just going to keep playing with it and getting it how you want it to be. And the more we mess with it, the more it's going to be work hardened. And please don't try to make this perfect, guys. Like you will drive yourself batty.
Yeah.
It's not going to be exact. So this is meant to be abstract and fun. So don't try to make it perfect. It's not going to happen. Or maybe it will.
Let it feel handmade. It should.
I love the song. One of my favorite songs of all time is Let It Be by the Beatles. And that's the way I like to think about this particular project. Yeah. Let it be. So I'm kind of liking these 2, and I'm going to cut. So I'm going to cut this right about here because I want to keep it the same length. And I'm going to cut it pretty close to my loop there. Oops, I actually cut a little bit more off than I wanted to, but that's okay. Again, don't try to make it perfect because it's not going to be. Now, in this case, when I cut it so that this end is kind of sticking up a little bit. I'm just going to grab some chain nose pliers, and I'm going to pull that around just a bit and hammer that. And if I were not on camera, I'd probably hammer just a little bit harder. But you see, this hammer is still doing its job. And then I'm just going to kind of push that back into shape. And we've got 2, it's a little bit shorter, but I can still pull that out. You could always closely matched. This one, I think I'll trim off a little more off the top of this one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the length I'll be happy with the length. So I'm just
and they just need to be sisters. They don't need to be twins.
Oh my gosh, I heard somebody say that the other day, and I thought that was genius.
That's all they need to be. You know, we just want them to be related, to be similar.
They could even just be close friends, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got that one. I'm just gonna adjust it just a touch up there and then hammer that just a little bit more. Get this guy just a little bit more. So this, you know, this is something you'll want to spend your time getting this the way that you like it. Spend as much or as little time as you want working on this part. Okay. So we've got our 2 pieces we're going to need for our necklace. So I also save my extra pieces. I've got a whole bunch of little pieces and parts here.
Oh, fun.
I don't like to throw anything away. So, you know, I'll find something to do with these fun little extras. It's just something I like to do. Hold on to the extras because you never know what you might do with them.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I'm excited to see where this all comes together, where it all goes.
Yes. So I'm moving all the stuff out of the way so we can focus on putting this together. So I just remembered I need to grab jump rings from behind me. I forgot we're using jump rings too.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, it seems like we've done like the hardest part of the project, and now the rest is going to be what people are probably most familiar with, which is, you know, we're just doing the assembly of attaching it together, the basic wire work, the stringing, like we're done with the hard part.
Yes. So just really quickly, I'll show you guys what I did in terms of stringing. So I started with the tiniest of the beads in that palette. So the beautiful candy jade and these fire polish, and I separated them with seed beads. So I did like 3 seed bead, and there's 3 of each beads to start with. And then I used these amazing aquamarines with just 1 seed bead in between them. I wanted to maximize the use of those. And then these, oh my gosh. So just a quick design tip here. So these can be intimidating. And it's because folks that maybe are a little bit OCD, or maybe are a little bit worried about trying to make things match perfectly, you're going to have to let that go with these beads, because this is another sort of organic thing. Like they move so nicely together. And believe it or not, when you put them all together, they play very nicely together. So you can string them on. You can use some spacers in between some of them if you'd like. You could do like a spacer in between every one, a spacer between every 3. Totally up to you. I just put on, I think there's 18 of them in this particular section. Then I grabbed a couple more of those fire polish to separate then the next section of the amethyst. And there's 5 in this section. And then I had to throw in a few more of those aquamarine. And then I never met a melon bead I didn't like. Here's that beautiful check melon at the end of our strand. So with this project, you actually need 2 strands. You need 2 separate strands of beads. And I'm just noticing I'm a little bit longer on one side. I must not have used enough of these guys on one strand. Well, that's going to bug me.
All right. You'll fix that afterwards. But maybe. Oh, and you might maybe also the aquamarine, maybe use like 1 or 2 less nuggets at the top. But
yes, you know what? I'll fix that over there. So, but you are going to do 2 separate strands, because we're going to create a little V here with our coily components that we created. So that's what I'm going to do next. So here's where we're going to need a couple crimps. So let me get these crimp tubes open. So I like to use size 2 crimp tubes. I'm going to set those here. And I like to use French wire. Now, you could just attach your wire directly to these coils. You don't need French wire. I just am a little bit addicted to this, and I like the look of it because it's bright, and I think it just adds a little something to the finishing of this piece and a lot of pieces. But it's just my preference. You absolutely don't have to do this, but the same sort of finishing of this applies whether you're using a piece of French wire or not. You're still going to crimp this way and finish it this way.
Yeah.
So,
and I mentioned earlier, some folks probably have wire guardians in their stash. You can use that as well for this effect.
Yes. So one thing we need to make sure we do is we want to go around 2 of the pieces of wire. So I don't trust going through that first piece of wire because we've got an unfinished end. We've hammered it. It's probably going to stay there pretty well, but I want to go around at least a couple of my coils so that it has a better chance of longevity. So we want this pretty piece to last as long as possible. So I'm going to put on my French wire, and then I'm going to take my stringing wire and put it through those first 2 coils, and I just want to get it around there, and then I want to put my wire back through my crimp tube and up through my check melon, which is so spectacular. So this is what it looks like. It's just adding almost kind of another coil or another loop to this, but this could be bare wire or a wire guardian, or if you've got some other little tip or trick to finish off yours. And then I'm going to crimp with my crimping pliers. Just a normal traditional crimp there. And we've got our first side attached. And then I'm going to get rid of my excess here. And then I'm going to set this first side aside. And we're going to finish our second side. So, and I mean, these are invaluable for this project. We've got a lot of beads to hold together here. You don't want them to go awry. Here's my crimp tube. So put that on. Then we're going to grab that French wire again. And then again, I want to go through a couple of those coils. So something that I need to do here is just kind of get these to come together a little bit. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want to make sure I can get around those. And you've got plenty of, you can manipulate the length of the wire, the loop that you're creating. The only thing you couldn't manipulate would be a wire guardian, but those have quite a bit of space in them most of the time. So there you are with your second loop-de-loo there. And I'm just going to get that, got to hold that and crimp that guy. Crimp it in the other direction. So we've got our second one ready to go. And then I'm going to clip off my excess wire. And now we're going to join these 2, but we're going to join them by creating just a little bit of a cute dangle at the end. So I'm going to choose a few beads to work with from these amazing beads. I think what I'm going to do is a melon and an aquamarine because I want to tie back to the blue, and another melon. So we're going to create a little dangle that's then going to be at this V, and it's going to make the attachment of the 2. So that's what's going to bring them together at the bottom. Now, one more thing before I actually start wire wrapping is you may be thinking to yourself, these are gonna pull out. Well, they could, but here's the thing. We're not putting any pressure on these because all of the weight of the necklace is above it. So by using these little small lightweight beads here, it will keep these in place, but it's not going to put any pressure and pull out those coils. If you pull on this too hard, or if you do something like you try to go disco dancing wearing this piece, maybe you might not want to choose that. So I'm not going to say this is foolproof, guys, but under a normal just wearing circumstance, you should be fine. All the weight is up here. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to trim off just a little bit of my 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to create my my little wire wrap loops. Oh, so yeah, you need a pair of round nose pliers too. What tool haven't we used in this project? So I'm going to create just a wire wrap loop and cut my excess. I'm going to create the middle one first. So you can do this however, in whatever order you would like, but for the top and bottom ones, you're going to need to leave one end open.
And is this the same 22 gauge German style wire we've been using the whole time?
Yes.
Nice. I love that.
And I love this wire for this application too. It just feels so good. And it creates a nice stable link. Come on there, focus. Nice stable link. So, all right. So then I'm going to do my, so the last one, the bottom bead is going to be on a head pin. So I'm going to put that one on, that melon bead onto my head pin, and I'm going to create my loop, and then I'm going to attach it to one of the loops on my already wrapped aquamarine. I'm going to take some pliers, hold on to that loop, wrap around, and cut my excess off. So I have two of my pieces ready. Now this one, we're going to do essentially the same thing, but let me show you what I'm going to do a little bit differently. So I'm going to attach one bead to the other to start with. So I'm going to open that up. I'm going to attach that. You might do this a little bit differently, but I just want to show you. The top of this one is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to wrap that around a few times. I like to do 3 wraps when I'm doing a little piece like this. Adds a little more dimension. Adding my bead. Now, because we're attaching this together, I need a bit of a larger hole up here. So I don't want a little tiny loop. I want a larger loop because I want to be able to get around those coils at the bottom. So I could go all the way down on my pliers here, and I think I probably can to get big enough there. So let's try it. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the base of my plier. So instead of starting closer up top where you're going to get a smaller loop, I'm going to wrap around and give myself a larger loop. And it's not shaped exactly the way I want it, but we're going to manipulate it a little bit. So you want a bigger loop up top because it's going to create continuity with these coils and it's going to fit around. So I'm going to pull this open just a little bit, and I'm going to move stuff out of the way because we've got to get this out here. so you can see it. So I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to, again, I want to make sure I get around a couple of those coils, not just one. So I'm going to put that through my first 2 coils. So it's attached there. Then I'm going to come around here and I'm going to put this around 2 coils on this side. And that's going to create an attachment for that end. And then very carefully, not to get all of that other wire caught up in this wrapping, I'm going to hold my loop, my large loop together. And then I'm going to grab my wire and I'm going to wrap that around. And I'm going to do just a little bit of a messy wrap up here, just to make it a little bit more substantive up top. So it almost looks like a bit of a bail look. So show you that close up. So we've got that connected, and then all we need to do is clip off that extra, get that out of the way, and we've created a little focal section with this fun little dangle, and it's not going to add any weight. I'm pulling a little bit just so you can see it's holding shape.
That is so fabulous. I love it.
So I love how this looks. Now, Rachel, how are we doing on time? Can I fix this really quickly up here?
We have, why don't you go ahead and update the stringing at the end?
Yeah, let me grab. So I think what I did was I got myself too involved with the aquamarine. I fell in love with them, and I used too many up there. So I'm working on a flat surface, so some of these beads are gonna do their own thing. So let me just quickly, so that was my issue. Now, this is another challenge too with these. So I also have more of these, I think, here. So let me just quickly.
Take that off as well. Yeah, we'll get it all evened out.
Because that's just gonna bug me. It's gonna bug me. I made each strand at 2 different times. So clearly I remembered it.
Yeah, how well does it line up? Is it good, or do you need one more purple back on?
I think I need one more on. Yeah. And I think I want a little more of a chunky one. So these beads, like, that's another design thing you have to think about, is they're not all the exact same shape. So you might have to play with them a little bit. And that's fun. Like, it's fun to find them. And again, don't try and make it perfect, because you'll make yourself crazy.
But yeah, I'm sure you tried to do like a balance of smaller ones and larger ones on both sides.
And color variation too. Like, that's another thing to think about. Look, you've got some really deep ones and then some lighter ones. So, you do it how you would like. And I have to say, I was thinking a little bit about Shira as I was working on this piece.
On all this beautiful amethyst.
Yeah. I'm like, has she seen this? Because I'm surprised this is like going to be available.
Yeah.
Has she bought it all up? Like, maybe
it is her favorite deep purple amethyst.
There's plenty of the deep in here for sure. So, so this is going to be nice and balanced when we're good. I know watching me string these tiny little beads on is not, the best entertainment available, but I can do it sort of fast.
All good.
I'm so used to working with 15s. I think most people are fairly horrified by working with them because they're so small. And my eyesight is not great. I mean, as you know, I wear glasses. But I mostly work with them by feel. Like, I know how like 3 of them feel in my hands. So if I'm picking them up to work on a design, I can usually feel 3 or feel, 2
Yeah.
or
Interesting.
so I just become so accustomed to working with them that that's how I operate, is mostly by feel, because like to see them is challenging. But you just need good lighting. So try them if you haven't, because they're kind of fun to work with. All right, I think we're back in business here.
Oh, that
So,
looks great.
okay, so let me just clear off the like extras that are going to end up on the floor if I don't move them out of the way. All right, so we have our piece, and what I want to do is just add a simple toggle to the end. Like, we don't need anything fancy here because this necklace has a lot going on. So I'm going to use, again, a couple pieces of French wire because that's what I like to do. And again, this is perfect for Wire Guardian if you prefer Wire Guardians, or you can just, the stringing wire can show. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just very attached to this process, and that's what I like to do. So I've got 2 spilled out here. Get those over there. All right. So I'm going to put my crimp tube on. Get that guy on there. Sometimes crimp tubes are harder to put on than a size 15 seed bead. And the French wire sometimes is a little hinky at the end. So I have to cut just a touch off the ends to get it to work with me. So grab this end. And with a necklace like this, you've got a lot of pieces and parts. So I do try to let gravity do its thing, and then sort of let the necklace fall so that we don't get it too tight, crimp it too tight. But I like to make sure everything sort of, after we did all that work, that everything is hanging the way it should before we actually crimp. I did a piece the other day and I don't know what happened. I just had too much slack and I'm like, oh my God, I just did all that work and
oh no.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
So if you struggle with crimping, know that it happens to the best of us. We all do it. All right, so I'm going to cut that excess off. So I've got one side ready to go. And then here's
It's almost time for the grand reveal. I'm so excited to see you wear it. I hope you put it on.
I'm going to. I have my matching shirt ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Because when you first sent me the photo of this design, I was just like, I just loved where you put those amethyst top drilled sticks. Like you kind of had them closer to the shoulders. And I just thought that framing was so cool. And just, I don't know, usually people put the heavier stuff, in the center, but I loved kind of moving that up. It gave it a little more of like a regal feel. So I know folks will get to see that soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm one that I kind of am a bit of a rebel in terms of like I don't always like to put things where you would think they would go, because I think if you stay in that lane forever, you might not get too excited about making jewelry. But if you start to kind of play around with, dimension and size and shape and placement. Years ago, I had a necklace that went into one of the jewelry making magazines, and the first one I sent, they had this huge focal on it, and the editor said, "Can you pick a smaller focal? Otherwise, and we love it." And I told them, "Well, I really I think that's what makes it so cool." And they ended up publishing it with the big focal, and I'm like, "All right,
awesome."
All right, we have
here it is.
Simple toggle. Let me see if I can move this up a little bit so I can get it all in the shot, and then I'll put it on. But look at this. I mean, the blues and the purples together, and this fun little coil thing. with a cone. We made those with a cone.
Yeah. No, I love it. It adds some fun interest. It brings in, like, you get to see the wire and put it on display right in the front. It's such a cool idea. And it lays really nicely. I love how they kind of one lays slightly over the other.
Yes, we tried a couple iterations too. Like I did another, this is a leftover from another try, but I did another coil and put a bead at the end of this one. And I would be remiss, Rachel, I almost forgot. I did make these in advance. So
let's see them. Yeah.
The matching earrings. So these are with the little kyanite coins, but I used them so that they hang kind of side to side, which I thought was kind of fun.
So that component you made the exact same way, right? It looks like this one you just did a slightly tighter coil. You didn't space them out quite as much. That's a cool look as well.
Yeah, so they're just a little bit of a heavier coil, more coils. And I think I may have even used a different one of the mandrels for that one, just playing around, but they still are a great match for this beautiful piece. So I'm gonna flip, Rachel, and put this on while I do it.
Sounds good. Let me give me one moment. Let's see here. All right, go ahead and flip your camera around. We're going to see your reveal of the necklace. I hope folks have been having a fun time learning how to use some tools that maybe you're not familiar with or you just haven't used in a while. And I hope you've gotten some inspiration for some like design layouts because Deb always has some good ideas there. So we're going to see the grand reveal. Deb is putting on the necklace as we speak. Drum roll, everyone.
Well, I hope I can get it into the shot.
Give me some like drum roll, give me some emojis in the comments and show us your excitement for the grand reveal. And let me add Deb right back in. All right, I'm making you the full display. There we go.
Here it is.
So fun.
I think I'm gonna wear this all day. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of gets lost in this crazy shirt, but I do, Rachel, I do love this kind of purple up towards the neck. It's just really is elegant and regal, like you said.
Yeah, this purple amethyst collar is so cool. And then are you wearing the earrings as well, or?
I am.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, then you get the silver with the silver, and then got to showcase that kyanite as well.
I didn't use any of the kyanite in the necklace. I felt like I just felt like they just didn't go. They needed just to be showcased in the earrings. So
that totally works. Well, I mean, it all blends together. It's all the similar colors. Yeah. So there we go. That is our finished piece. Thank you so much for sharing, for playing around and coming up with these ideas to share with us all.
Well, I hope you guys give the Con-tastic a try. It's really a fun tool, great to have in your arsenal, and you don't have to make a cone with it.
That's what we know now. So yeah, we've got the Conetastic plus that hourglass mandrel accessory, plus any of these beads and wire. You've seen it today. So check that out in the links in the description of the video. And how can folks find you? How can they best support you and check out your jewelry?
So my jewelry is for sale at Deb Loves Jewelry Designs at Etsy.com.
And how do you spell that?
I love it. Yes. LUVS. And you can find me on Instagram as Deb Loves Designs, TikTok as Deb Loves Designs, Facebook I think is actually Deb Loves Jewelry Designs, and I have a fledgling YouTube channel, Deb Loves Jewelry, and loves is always spelled LUVS. That is the correct spelling of loves.
Of course, yeah.
I'm convinced.
In the Deb dictionary, it is.
For sure.
Yeah, I will make sure those links are in the description of this video so people can check it out. Yeah, definitely follow along so you can see all the amazing. I mean, you post, I feel like almost every day I see a new piece of jewelry that you're posting. Like, you have so much inspiration for folks to see, and maybe they want to purchase for themselves for a gift. I love that.
It's a sickness, honestly.
It is a beautiful addiction. No, it is fabulous.
It's a happy addiction.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, oh, I opened my Facebook. What did Deb make today? It's so good. I love it.
I love
And like,
it.
and I also just love that you get to like take these photos on these buses, like outside. You have with the beautiful Arizona behind it. You get some really nice photos outside.
I love living in Arizona. There's something to be said for having sunlight, most days of the year.
Yeah.
But I will say today is one of like, we get maybe a handful of really cold days every year. Today is only going to be 48 in my town. So that's pretty chilly. But it's still sunny out. It's still like bright sun.
Yeah.
I love it.
So you still feel good. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you're inspired and ready to start creating. And thank you so much, Deb, for sharing this with all of us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I love being here.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Well, goodbye, everyone. We'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.